fellow veteran, Mr. Robert Milford of 1225 Northwood Court, Marion, Indiana, on the date May 14th, 2003, with Robert Milford and Matt Milford. Uh, with Lila Milford, she'll be commenting from time to time. All right, just go ahead and just talk about the war. What war did you serve in?
What war did I serve in? Oh, the United States. I was a soldier.
Were you?
Was it World War One or World War Two?
World War One.
No.
No, two. World War Two.
All right.
And I was taken away from college and put in World War Two.
So you were drafted into the army. You didn't have a choice.
Yeah. All of us were.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You were a student at Notre Dame University at the time.
Yeah.
And how many years were you at Notre Dame before they asked you to, or before you were drafted? You were a freshman or a
I'd say
sophomore?
about 3 years.
3 years.
You were a junior at Notre Dame, and then they drafted you. And what was your life like at Notre Dame before? Do you remember how you used to play cards and everybody knew you'd be
We
drafted?
played bridge. We played a lot of bridge. And we didn't, we were sort of happy though. We knew we were going to go to war.
Mm-hmm.
And that's no fun, It's dangerous. But whenever they take us, why they took us down to Indianapolis, and then I don't know where I went. Then they.
Did you go to a place in the South,
Yeah, but I can't remember.
Camp Lejeune?
I can't remember the name. Oh, it was that great big place that a lot of tons of soldiers were
Yes.
there. And we were really going through. And I began to drink coffee there. I remember that. That's the first time I'd ever drank coffee, because I was young and rather old, young. And we practiced hard. It was tough. We had to do things down
Do you
there.
remember where you went to basic camp? Do you remember?
I can remember the name of it, but I
What
can't
was-
remember the name, but I can remember where I was.
Where was it?
That's a tough question.
Did you? Was it hard? Was basic training? Was it hard? Did you like?
Well, it was busy.
It was
Yeah,
busy.
we were busy, and we had to take big, long walks. We'd go 3 miles. We didn't mess around. We were really making tough, and we did have good food, but we had to eat it, and the things. And
Bob, I remember something you said a long time ago, that it was extremely hot when you had these long trips with all of your equipment on the back. And the sun was hot and you walked and you walked. And
long
some
ways.
people had heat exhaustion and actually died. This is
And
things going
one of the fellows that was with us was a sort of a sissy man. He really was. Now, he's sort of a sissy man. And whenever I knew I was going to have to take those long walks, I made up my mind, I'll never drop over if he's still going.
Yeah.
I will never let him get ahead of me. And by golly, that guy, he kept ahead of me, and he went clear to the end on the darn
Good.
thing. And I followed him. I did keep my word, but boy, he was really heavy. He
How-
had to weight a lot of things.
How long were you in basic camp before? Did you go to Germany or did you
No, I was down in Florida, down in
Indianapolis?
I can't think of what the town, what the country. It's the big one down there, way down south. Way down
You
south.
went to basic training in this country, and then you were shipped overseas.
Right.
And what ship did you go on? Do you remember?
Ooh, that's
The
a,
Lucid,
That-
it
that's
was
a-
an old English ship that you
no,
went.
it was a beautiful, great big ship.
Okay.
And it was a main one. And it
Mauritania. Did you go on the Mauritania?
might have been. That's not the one that went down.
No, that was the Lusitania,
Yeah, okay.
What was
or the Titanic.
what was the attitude like? The people you went with, the other soldiers, were they like scared? Were they nervous? Were they?
No, we just normal.
Just
No,
normal?
we weren't scared.
Bob, tell the story about Richard Simon's brother. You were the last one.
Yeah, we had a brother here, and he was Jewish. Very nice, and I knew him real well, and he was really go. He was gonna get him, and he.
Like
really-
he really he was wanting to go to war. Like he was.
Yeah, and he was. So what actually happened? He went in, and then he got to go up to the front.
The front line?
Yeah, and he started it real early,
He did.
and he got killed. Yeah, he died, and I actually told him. I said, now you got to be a little careful here on it.
Yeah.
Whenever he was in the boat, whenever in the boat, I talked to him a lot there and spent a lot of time with him. And I could see that he was really going to get in there. And sure enough, he died.
What did you actually do in the army? Were you were you an infantry or were you?
Well, I was in the infantry, that's true. And I was a good soldier, that's true. And I was never a captain or a big shot. I was a soldier. And I didn't want to be any of those other guys, to be honest with you. And we were very dangerous.
Bob, you said that because you used to go camping and you used to learn how to take care of yourself, and that was one of the things that helped you in the service.
I don't remember that, Mother.
Yes, you'll remember it, dear. Remember, you learned how, when you even were here in Marion and used to go to some of the creeks nearby and camp out. So when you were there, you didn't ask for trouble, ever.
No,
Did-
nobody
No.
asked for trouble.
Did you make a lot of friends in the army? Did you like?
Oh, yeah. But not a lot, because we would be in a group, and then that would be we wouldn't mess around with the other guys. We would be in a group, and our soldiers, and they were all they were good students. They actually were a lot of college
Yeah.
kids and things like that, and they were good soldiers. And
Where did you sleep at? Did you sleep on like when you were stationed out in the war? Where did you how were the
Well,
living conditions and how,
depends a little bit on different things, but we would dig a hole,
Mhm.
and then and then go down, and when everybody went to sleep, we would go in that hole and then fall asleep right there, and
Did
we
you?
would have to get up at certain times, our duty,
Mhm.
and in other words, we'd go back to bed
Yeah.
at certain times and things like that, and
Did you ever miss America or miss your home or
do what?
did
now?
you did you miss your home or did you did you ever write home or anything write letters?
Yeah, but I didn't. Yeah, but I wasn't crying or anything, and I wasn't trying to do anything, But I didn't, and I didn't talk to him too very much either. You're not supposed to tell him a lot of stuff.
Oh, they censor things and
Yeah, because that word gets back, and then all of a sudden you're in trouble.
Yeah.
So we were actually taking care of ourselves.
What did you do during peacetime? How were you entertained? on your off hours or your free time? Did you play cards? Did you?
You mean in the war?
Yeah.
No, we were busy in the war. We were, you know, going into places that were safe and things like that, and moving around and things like that. But we weren't messing around with fun and things like that.
Were,
And we did try to take care of ourselves, of course. Yeah, it
We're-
was good. I took care of myself real well. And we would sleep at nighttime in the basement of where we were.
Okay. Did you take any pictures or photographs or
No,
under
no.
that?
I don't even think I had a camera.
Did you keep a diary or anything?
No, no.
Were you awarded any medals or honors or?
Oh,
Please tell about your Purple Heart.
You were awarded a Purple Heart.
well, whenever it came time to go home, when the war was over, why, the ones that got hurt had a certain line of numbers, and they could get home quicker.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't get hurt, and I had the littlest, tiniest thing that was.
Scratch, or grandfather really did get hurt. He's underemphasizing it, but he did get a small wound.
Oh, well, it wasn't any bigger than
No, I
about that big.
What? How'd you?
And I sent in for a thing,
How did you? Like, how were you wounded? Or did you?
well, actually, we were out practicing shooting guns.
What kind of guns were they? Just machine guns?
Rifles.
Rifles?
Rifles, yeah. And one of them had a little piece of stuff that bit me. But it was so small I can't even make it that small.
Mm-hmm.
But I sent in, said I got shot. So then I got to go home earlier on the thing. But they sent me a piece of paper saying I was a soldier and I was I had that award.
So you were awarded the Purple Heart?
Yeah, I got the Purple Heart. I still, it was funny. But I don't know how I ever made it without getting killed. In other words, it was really.
Did you have a lot of close calls, or was it?
I had a few. And luckily, most of them missed. They missed me. So whenever they miss you, then you can run back, and everything. And I did see.
Bob, why don't you tell the twins about your class, the ones from the class of 44 at Notre Dame, and how many went and how many came back? Your class at Notre Dame.
I don't know.
You don't know the figures,
No,
but
I
what?
have no idea. But, we all went to war.
Yes, dear, but your class had more that died.
Oh, yeah. We were very active in the war.
Mm-hmm.
All of us had to go practically. And we were all good soldiers, so most of us,
But more in your class died than any other class
Yeah.
during the service.
some of them did die. And I
More
did.
died than any other, dear.
Yeah, one of my best friends got killed.
Mhm.
That was really bad. And, but war was war. And I took care of myself a little bit. I tried to anyway.
Like when you came home, were you welcomed home as a hero, or what was the response to how was America?
No, but I just went back to Notre Dame and
Did you finish?
never talked about it. We didn't pay much attention to it.
Did you finish school at Notre Dame?
Oh, yeah. And then I went to college there too. And then I also, what was that? I got mother, what was that one I got? I was a lawyer.
Yeah, you got your law degree.
Well, law degree there.
Did you become a lawyer after that?
Yeah.
How long were you a lawyer?
Ugh. 20 years.
No, dear, or like 44 years.
Well, whatever it was. A long time. And fortunately, I went, whenever I got back to Notre Dame, it was a quick one. I went to Notre Dame, and then I finished going to college there. And then I went and got the lawyers there, too. So,
You
that,
got your undergraduate degree, and then you went on to get
you got my
law
graduate
degree. And when you first went back to Notre Dame, remember, everybody was wearing their uniforms. There weren't clothes available.
You saw them, didn't you? Did you? Yeah. Well, Mother was there whenever I went back. And
What school
we
did
all had sold, we all
your
had,
uniform?
yeah, well, they weren't the matching things, anything. They weren't this and that. They weren't beauty, they weren't anything. But they were nice clothes. And they lasted for a long time. Boy, they really, I wore that for a long time in Notre Dame. But we all did. The ones that,
Did you meet Lila before or after the war?
before or after the war.
Yeah, did you meet her when you got back from the war, or did you?
No, I didn't even know her, but I met her after the war. And she was in school there too, and they had dance, at noon, what do they call that, Mother?
Ooh, tea dances
Yeah, they had the dancing, and
on Sunday afternoons. It was so pure you couldn't.
but it was nice, though,
Yes,
Mother.
it really was.
And a lot of people met people.
That was the whole point.
Yeah, and that's where I met my mother, was at the tea dancing, at the dancing thing.
When did you pick up like realty? When did you start purchasing houses in
After the war.
after the war?
Now, what's the question?
You and Uncle George then were both practicing law, but your father had begun to dabble a little in real estate, so you decided to go into real estate too. You remember?
Oh, yeah.
Did you go to any ceremonies for veterans after the war? Did you join any clubs?
Very little. Very, very little. But we, we didn't even talk very much about it.
You
Did I?
did join the American Legion, Bob.
Mhm.
Yeah, because one of the people that you'd gone to school with was one of the commanders here locally, and he sort of recruited you. So a year or two ago, you got your 50-year pin for being an American Legionnaire for over 50 years. Dear. Yeah. But grandfather is not a social animal, so it was a little different than compared to some others who enjoyed all of the facilities they had. But he was very willing to pay his dues and to do whatever.
Do you still have any friends? Do you still talk to any friends from war? Do you still know of any around?
Very, very few. They're not. No, I don't. Most of them are dead by now because I'm old, and of course they're.
Please tell the twins how old you are, dear.
I don't know, 80.
Yes, dear, you're 80 years old, right. And please tell about that pin that one of your Notre Dame contemporaries gave you, the sharp.
Well, we were to do what we did with the gun
Rifle?
things. It was very, you're very, very dangerous and very. So I got a thing here upstairs, a little tiny pin with the name of that. One of my friends gave it to me a long time ago, and I still wear it if I had a
To
chance.
remind you
Yeah.
that you were among those that actually did some sharpshooting. Do you remember the name of the gun you used to use, dear? Do you remember the name of the gun? It-
Well,
The kicker, remember, you would kicker with it?
the gun,
Yeah, some of the guns that you used.
So you were a
I used the ones that was about this long. Bang!
oh, was it like a grenade? Like you
Yeah,
drop a grenade?
Grenades.
So you,
They, the other soldiers, I had and then I could do that. And that was a very dangerous thing for them. And I could have killed them. When it did, whenever you blow it up, if it goes up and it goes a long way, pretty long. It goes up and down and bam. Well, by the time it gets up, they can't hear it. It's not. It doesn't whistle. It doesn't ding anything, and all of a sudden he's dead. If he does, because he didn't do it. He didn't get rid of it.
like, were you in charge of loading it, or were you in charge of firing it, or?
Both. You do it yourself.
Oh, you each have your own.
Both of them. Yeah.
Did you have like a
I
box
had
of
one, yeah.
grenades, and did you just drop it in there and it would shoot, or how would you?
Well, it's a thing. You would put it in and get down.
Cover your ears?
Yeah, so you'd cover your ears and things, and it would go real fast too. And it was, it explodes down here, and it goes off, and bam! It's dangerous.
Was that the only weapon you shot in the war, or?
Well, that's the one I used mostly.
That's the one you-
Yes.
So were you a technician, or what was your status,
No,
or?
Just a war, just a veteran.
Just a soldier.
And I did my job on anything like that, and I didn't get killed.
You did your job well.
Yeah, it worked, and I went clear through the thing. I started in, we went across from England, across the water.
The channel.
The channel, and that's when I started right there.
Was that France?
I think
Yeah,
it was.
France.
France.
And you were in the Rhine Valley, and 2 years or so ago, we took the Rhine trip, and we went close to the Remagen Bridge, and grandfather actually went on that Remagen Bridge, which was a railroad bridge. Don't think it was anything else. It wasn't a car bridge. But that was one of the highlights of our senior years, was going to some of the areas where grandfather fought in World War II in Germany. And we went to some of the graveyards where the American soldiers are buried, and we will never forget that. And there are still some of the landmines and some of the obstacles that were put there by the French and the Germans to stop the tanks. And when grandfather saw those items, it came back to him somewhat better than right now.
How long were you in the war? Like how many years?
I think about 2 years.
Yes, it was
2
over
years.
2 years. You used to have it down pat. 2 years, so many months, so many days, many
But
hours.
after 80 years, being
A
a
senior citizen.
senior citizen, you can't remember all that stuff, and I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's fine. That's quite
Yeah.
all right. I understand.
But I don't know. But I don't remember a lot of the thing. I did take care of myself, and I got away from them, so I didn't want, if they're gonna, a lot of them. But they were all very nice. We had nice fellows. They were all, a lot of them were Notre Dame, some Notre Dame people, and a lot of them from other schools, and we were good soldiers. We were good. And they were good soldiers too.
So thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, I wish I could do better for you, but I just can't. I can't remember it. That's the trouble.
And maybe it's a blessing that you don't remember all the dark parts, Bob, because once in a while there were some dark parts. And now you remember the parts that you came through, as well as so many others came through. And maybe that's better.
Oh, a lot of them got killed.
Yes, too many. And we hope it doesn't happen again.
Doing a veteran research project on fellow veteran Miss Lila Milford of 1225 Northwood Court, Marion, Indiana, on the date May 14th, 2003, with Matt Milford commenting, Mark Milford interviewing, and Lila Milford being interviewed. Lila, where were you born and when were you born and where at?
I was born in Detroit, Michigan in 1926. Neither of my parents were American citizens, but they were both so proud to be naturalized. And my father happened to be in World War I and World War II.
Did you have an occupation during the World War II?
No, I was a very small child.
Okay. You had no educational background. Were you in school at all, elementary or anything?
Yes, I went to a small Catholic school in River Forest, Illinois. Now this school has expanded tremendously. They have a very active alumni association. So many of their teachers have their doctors and their masters and whatever, and it staggers me when I get information from them. Of course, it's primarily pleas for help to encourage other young people to go to this particular grammar school.
Mm-hmm. Were you located in Detroit during the war, or where were you
I was
located?
born in Detroit, but then during the Depression, my parents moved to Chicago and then to a suburb called River Forest, Illinois, where I went to St. Luke's Grammar School and Trinity High School, and then to St. Mary's College, Notre Dame, Indiana.
Did you have any relatives involved in any type of war work? Like your mom or dad help out with the war, or were they just working through the war?
My father did have a job for a short time in World War II, and then he couldn't stay still. He was so proud to be an American. He was very glad to be in World War I and as a very young person. And then in World War II, he wanted to be involved, so he joined the Merchant Marine.
Did the war affect your life at school or any other aspects?
Absolutely, in high school and in college.
What were those? What?
Our life was so much different. There were no young men around to begin with. My father was gone. Our car was put away because there wasn't enough gas for anything but essentials. Of course, we had rationing. Yes, very definitely. You know that my mother was Norwegian at the time. Her family was under the German influence. It was a very hard time for her whenever she got information about what was going on there.
Mm-hmm.
So having two foreign-born parents was slightly different than most people.
So you were treated a little bit differently based on race?
Not particularly, no, we didn't talk about that, but we had a life that was not normal because of being in a war situation.
Yeah. So what were the initial changes right when the war began? Do you remember how old you were, or?
Yes, I was in grammar school when the Japanese came to Pearl Harbor, and I don't think the enormity of the situation clicked in just then at all.
All right. 1 second here. Did you know if your parents had any feelings about the war, or any of your friends had any feelings about the war?
All of them had feelings. Yes, of course they
Can you
did.
explain some of those?
Some of the feelings were my mother's concern about her relatives that were left there, my father being so pro-American, even though he was born in London, he was wanting to do something to help the war effort, and he did work for a short time in a munitions factory, and then he wanted to do more, and that's when he joined the Merchant Marine. Actually, he was too old to go in any other service, and not being an American, being a naturalized American, made a difference as well.
What type of social activities existed during the war, like for the young women at the time? Do you have any idea? Or
We had, I went to a small Catholic girls' school, and we had completely different social activities than they do now, and they were wonderful. We concentrated more on our scholastic work. We would go down to some of the museums in the Chicago area. Primarily, that is what we did. We had another life, and we didn't date very much. Oh my gracious, if you had to do that really wasn't the norm at all.
yeah. So like, no one in your family that you knew of was in any contact with any armed forces? Do you know?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh,
Oh,
great.
yes. Oh, my Norwegian cousins, oh, they were all involved with
Huh.
the war effort. And a couple of my first cousins, because they were in this country, they went up to Canada, and they trained with the Royal Norwegian Air Force that was in Canada at the time, yes.
Are you at any point during the war were you worried that America might lose, or
Never, never,
was no one else you knew of had that feeling at all?
no.
Okay. What effect did the war have on your physical and mental well-being? Did you feel any different, or?
It was the only mode of life that we knew, and my mother, even though my father was gone, was very supportive, and we moved then from River Forest to a suburb in New Jersey, Englewood, New Jersey, because when my father came in from the Merchant Marine, it would have been too hard for him to come all the way to Chicago, so instead he would come into the port of New York, and the part of New Jersey where we were was like an hour and a half or so from the ports in New York, and my father could come home then to New Jersey whenever he was on leave.
What was your father's name, just for the records?
My father's name was George Leopold Chenal. That is a French name. It is spelled Chenal. If you look back, it only means they lived close to a channel.
So when they were rationing, did everybody have enough food?
My mother managed so well, we really never felt deprived.
Okay. What was your most memorable experience during the war? Maybe when you learned that we won, or
During the war, what was not at the end?
well, it could be at the end too. Was that the most memorable, the end of the war, or?
That was a very peaceful, quiet day. We happened to be in Fish Creek, Wisconsin, and when the actual broadcast was made about the end of the war, we had the radio on, and there was a candlelight service. We went to church.
That's good. Have you visited any of the war memorials?
Absolutely. I've been to many of them, both in England and Norway and France. And I told you that we did take that trip in the area in Germany where grandfather went as well. Do know that I have very close first cousins that had a very, very, not horrible, but straight-backed, deprived almost childhood because of living in Norway, and the Germans took so much of the best, which there wasn't too much of at the time, for themselves, and they left the Norwegians, my mother's people, with the minimum, including cold fish. And I remember I went back with my mother immediately after World War II. My mother collected things in large trunks, and she asked her friends for extra clothes and for anything that they could bring over. And my mother and I then went with these items to her relatives. At that time, I was between my sophomore and junior year at St. Mary's of Notre Dame. I went with my mother back to Norway shortly after World War II with these extra items that they had not seen for years. My first cousins told me they hadn't had any new clothes for 7 years. They learned how to take their jackets and turn them inside out. They were wonderful seamstresses. There was absolutely the minimum for them. They had cold frozen fish. Their idea of a treat was yellow turnip. I'll never forget that.
How did your community respond during the war? Like, were there war posters or a lot of flags waving around during the war, or?
My community, I didn't even think of that. I was just a student. I'm sure there were and now I'm talking about River Forest, Illinois.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that it was very adequate. There were wonderful people there. They did what they were supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. What type of shortage did you remember? Like gas or?
Oh, shortages.
Mm-hmm.
Very few. No, it was just, I give the credit to my parents. They made things fun for us, and we didn't feel like we were being tremendously deprived. My father was a reader. He used to read out loud sometimes at night to us when he was at home. He read poetry. It's because he was so involved with reading that we always went to the library. You may do. Everybody had the same problems, so you didn't feel as though you were different from anyone else.
Interesting. What was your reaction when the war ended?
Very happy, pleased. I didn't know what was going to happen next. I didn't care. You just lived from day to day.
Mm-hmm. Do you remember what the general reaction to the public was to the announcement?
Oh, pure joy for those, as knowing that my father was coming back, but we knew that my father was all right. So it wasn't the big hardship on us that it must have been on some who weren't sure what their sons, fathers, brothers, whatever. We knew that Daddy was safe and that we would go back to River Forest and we would just continue our life.
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you want to add, or that you remember?
I think what we heard tonight from Mrs. Traylor and Mr. Traylor about life in Marion would be worthwhile to be recorded, because I'm talking about an area that's a couple of 100 miles away, and I think in Marion High School that maybe more people that were involved, and I think maybe some of the Van Buren Legion people and some of the Legion people in Marion should be taped. I think such tapes would be very worthwhile in the future.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you for your time. This is Mark Milford. Goodbye.
Oh,
Stop
I
recording.
have one more thing.
Sure, go ahead. We're still recording.
Do remember, and maybe this would be a suggestion for the school, have some of the students go out to the VA and drive through the cemeteries there and look at some of those tombstones. It will help to remind you how many people have given their lives so we can have the wonderful life that we have now.
Good insight. Thank you.